Welcome to the Sleepy Story, your quiet refuge beneath a starlit sky. As rain softly dances on the roof, picture yourself in a warm mountain cabin, a quilt draped over your knees, the glow of a fire casting gentle shadows. Let the rain's soothing cadence lead you into a tale of resilience and renewal, where every challenge carves a path to new dreams. In the Appalachian town of Elkwood, nestled among ancient peaks, Daniel Boone, no relation to the legend, crafted furniture that warmed homes and hearts. At 45, he doubted his work could rise above the town's struggles, his dreams dulled by obstacles. One stormy night, a stranger arrived with a glowing chisel, igniting a journey to prove that courage, not the absence of barriers, builds success. Daniel Boone woke to the steady patter of rain on the corrugated roof of his workshop, a timber-framed deed she'd tucked into the folds of Elkwood, a small town cradled by West Virginia's Appalachian Mountains. The air carried the sharp scent of pine and the earthy musk of wet soil drifting through the workshop's open windows. At 45, Daniel was Elkwood's carpenter, his hands calloused from decades of planing wood, his dark hair flecked with gray, his brown eyes steady but shadowed by a quiet doubt. His workshop was a sanctuary of creation, its walls hung with tools, saws, chisels, hammers, and its floor, dusted with sawdust, the air thick with the resinous tang of oak and cherry. Benches held half-finished pieces, a rocking chair with curved arms, a table with inlaid walnut, a chest carved with laurel leaves. Elkwood was a town of rugged beauty and stubborn roots, its streets winding through clapboard houses and general stores, with coal mines long closed and lumber mills struggling. Founded in the 1800s by settlers who carved homes from the wilderness, it held its history in the ballads sung at barn dances and the quilts stitched for church fairs. Daniel's furniture was woven into Elkwood's life. His tables graced dining rooms, his chairs rocked babies to sleep, his chests held family heirlooms. Townsfolk cherished his work, stopping by the workshop with jars of apple butter or tales of the mountains, their smiles warm as they ran hands over polished wood. "You're a master, Daniel," they'd say. But Daniel's heart carried a weight, a sense that his craft, however loved, was not enough. He moved through his days with a measured rhythm, rising at dawn to select timber from the yard, his boots crunching on gravel. By mid-morning, he'd be at his workbench, shaping a chair leg with a spokeshave, the wood's grain revealing stories of decades in the forest. At the weekly market in the town square, under sycamores strung with lanterns, he'd sell his pieces, chatting with neighbors like Sarah Klein, the postmistress who bought his shelves, or Ellie Turner, a teenage apprentice who helped sandboards. "This table's a heirloom," Sarah would say, tracing its inlay. Daniel would nod, his cheeks warming. "Just wood," he'd reply. But her words lingered, a faint spark against his doubts. Despite Elkwood's love, Daniel carried a quiet burden. "It's just furniture," he'd mutter, sweeping sawdust as dusk settled over the peaks. "It'll wear out, break, be forgotten." His father, Amos, had been a carpenter, his hands shaping the same woods until a mill accident took him 15 years ago, when Daniel was 30. Amos's words echoed. "Wood's more than boards, Daniel. It's dreams carved solid." But Daniel wasn't sure he believed it. He dreamed of a legacy, a workshop teaching kids to build, a showroom in Charleston showcasing Appalachian crafts, his furniture in homes across the East Coast. But obstacles loomed. Elkwood's economy was faltering, his savings thin, his confidence thinner. "I'm no visionary," he'd think, watching mist curl over the mountains. "What can a carpenter do?" Elkwood's community kept him anchored. Sarah, 40, and quick-witted, was a friend since childhood, her laughter a balm. "You're too hard on yourself," she'd say, stacking his shelves in the post office. "This town lives in your work." Ellie, 16 and eager, dreamed of studying design, often sketching furniture while they worked. "You ever think about a big shop?" she'd ask, her pencil pausing. Daniel would smile, deflecting. "Maybe someday." Older townsfolk like Mr. Hensley, a retired miner, visited the workshop, sharing stories of Elkwood's boom days and hard times. "Your work's our pride," he'd say, gripping a chair. Daniel nodded, but the weight of expectation scared him. Each evening, Daniel walked the workshop's yard, the mountains rising dark and silent, the air cool with rain's promise. He'd pause by a stack of oak, its grain rough under his fingers, and think of Amos, of the showroom he'd never dared plan, of the workshop that lived only in his mind. "Maybe tomorrow," he'd whisper. But tomorrow brought the same routine. Cut, carve, sand, doubt. The mountains stood eternal, and Daniel felt small, his dreams too fragile for their shadow. On a Tuesday in late June, the sky darkened, clouds piling over the peaks, heralding a storm. By noon, rain fell in torrents, the creeks swelling, and Elkwood's streets emptied. Daniel was in his workshop, carving a chest's lid, the air thick with sawdust and rain's damp breath, when a knock broke the storm's roar. 3 firm raps, deliberate and clear. He opened the door to find a man standing there, his raincoat slick, his face weathered, but alive with purpose. He was perhaps 50, his beard streaked with silver, his eyes like polished slate, sharp and kind. "I'm Caleb," he said, stepping inside, his boots tracking mud. In his hands was a wooden box, its lid carved with vines, and when he opened it, Daniel's breath caught. Nestled within was a chisel, its steel blade glowing faintly. like moonlight on a stream. "I've come a long way to find a carpenter," Caleb said, his voice steady, cutting through the rain's din. "And Elkwood speaks your name, Daniel Boone." Daniel wiped his hands on his apron, his pulse quickening. "What's this about?" he asked, wary. Caleb held the box closer, the chisel's glow casting arcs across the workshop's walls, glinting off tools and wood. "This chisel is no ordinary thing," he said. "It's forged from the world's deepest dreams, timbers that built homes, furniture that held stories. It carves only for someone who pushes through obstacles with courage, who sees success in their hands." Daniel's throat tightened. The chisel's light felt alive, its warmth radiating, but doubt surged. "I'm not that person," he said, his voice low. "I'm just a carpenter." Caleb's gaze softened. "Success isn't the absence of obstacles, Daniel. It's the courage to push through them. Doubt is a spark, not a chain. Trust this, chisel, and yourself." He placed the box in Daniel's hands, the wood smooth, the chisel's glow pulsing. "Carve with it," Caleb said. "Work it with care, meditate on its cuts, and let it show you what's possible." Daniel opened his mouth to protest. He was no master, just a man with sawdust in his hair, but Caleb's eyes held him, resolute. Before Daniel could speak, Caleb stepped into the storm, his figure vanishing into the rain. Daniel stood alone, the box heavy in his hands. The rain's rhythm filled the workshop, a steady pulse matching his heartbeat. Doubts crowded his mind. What if it's nothing? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? But Caleb's words echoed. Success is not the absence of obstacles, but the courage to push through them. He set the box on his workbench beside a half-carved chair and studied the chisel. Its blade was sharp, its handle warm, glowing faintly. Idhai's took a breath, his fingers trembling, and lifted it, its light seeping into his palms. He selected a piece of cherry, its grain tight, and began to carve, the chisel moving with precision, the wood yielding like butter. As he worked, the rain's cadence pulled him into a quiet meditation. "Show me," he whispered, his voice soft. "Show me what I can build." The workshop seemed to hold its breath, the chisel's glow pulsing, and Daniel felt a spark, small, fragile, but real. Outside, the rain fell, washing the mountains clean, and for the first time in years, Daniel wondered if his dreams could take shape. The morning after Caleb's visit, Daniel woke to a world softened by the storm's end. Elkwoods, peaks sharp against a pale sky. The air was cool, carrying the scent of wet moss and cedar, and the workshop felt alive, the chisel's glow lingering in his mind. He'd carved late into the night, the glowing chisel shaping a chair arm with uncanny ease, its cuts clean, the wood's grain enhanced by a faint luminescence. The arm rested on the bench, its curves elegant, glowing softly, like a piece lit from within. It was unlike anything Daniel had crafted, even in his best years, and for a moment his doubts quieted, replaced by a flicker of possibility. Daniel held the chisel, its warmth seeping into his fingers, and returned to the workbench, selecting a slab of oak. He carved again, a table leg, its lines flowing, the chisel guiding his hand with precision. "You're something else," he murmured, his heart racing, but doubt crept in, sharp as a splinter. "It's just a piece," he told himself, sanding the leg smooth. "It'll warp, or no one will care." Yet Caleb's words echoed. Success is not the absence of obstacles, but the courage to push through them. Over the next days, Daniel worked with the glowing chisel, crafting more pieces. A chest with carved vines, a bench with inlaid maple, each glowing faintly, their details startlingly vivid. He worked in the workshop, the rain's return a steady backdrop, and meditated as Caleb had urged, letting the rain's rhythm pull him deep. Visions came. A showroom in Charleston, its walls lined with his furniture and Appalachian crafts, baskets, carvings, quilts. A workshop in Elkwood, where kids like Ellie learned to build, their hammers ringing, their laughter bright. His furniture in homes across West Virginia, even New York, carrying Elkwood's spirit. The visions were vivid, like blueprints waiting to be built, but doubt clawed back. "I'm not enough. I can't do that." He thought of Amos, who'd dreamed of a bigger shop but never pursued it, held back by debts and doubt. Daniel had been 20 when Amos spoke of it, planning boards in the old shed, his voice gruff but hopeful. "One day, Daniel, we'll have a place for the mountain's work." The shop never came, and Amos's death buried the dream. Was Daniel doomed to repeat that? Daniel kept the chisel a secret, his workshop door closed, his market visits brief. Townsfolk noticed his distraction, his eyes distant. One afternoon, Sarah Klein knocked, her postmistress apron swapped for a raincoat, a jar of honey in hand. "You're awfully quiet, Daniel," she said, stepping inside. He hesitated, then showed her the glowing pieces, now a dozen strong, stacked on benches. Sarah's eyes widened. "Good Lord!" she gasped, touching a chest's carving. "These are extraordinary." Daniel shared Caleb's visit, the chisel and its glow, bracing for skepticism. But Sarah smiled. "This is you, Daniel," she said. "It's the showroom you used to talk about, coming to life." Daniel blinked, startled. He'd mentioned the showroom to Sarah years ago, a fleeting hope buried under life's weight. "That was just talk," he said. But Sarah shook her head. "Talk's where dreams start. This chisel's a sign, Daniel. Don't ignore it." Her words struck deep, and Daniel felt the chisel's promise as more than a fantasy. But doubt lingered, heavy as wet timber. Elkwood's struggles, closed minds, tight budgets, loomed large, and his own fears of failure gnawed at him. The pieces grew in number, each glowing brighter. Tables, chairs, a cradle with carved star. Daniel finished them with oil. Nervous, the glow would fade, but it held. The wood radiant, its grain alive. He displayed them in the workshop, their light casting a warm aura, and townsfolk began to visit, drawn by Sarah's whispers. Ellie Turner came, her apprentice apron dusted with sawdust, and stared at a glowing bench, its inlay perfect. "This is unreal," she said, sketching its lines. "You should show these in Charleston, Mr. Boone." Daniel smiled, deflecting. "Maybe," he said. But Ellie's words echoed his vision, stirring hope. Mr. Hensley arrived, his miner's cap dripping. "Sarah said you've got something special," he said, his eyes softening at the pieces. "These are Elkwood's soul," he said, gripping a chair. He shared a story of the town's first carpenter, a man who'd built homes for miners, his work binding the community. "You're his heir, Daniel," he said. "Don't let doubt stop you." His words landed heavy, and Daniel's throat tightened. He wasn't sure he could carry that legacy, but the chisel's glow urged him. Ondot Caleb visited one rainy evening, his presence sudden, his raincoat glistening. "You're carving dreams," he said, studying the pieces. "But do you believe in them?" Daniel sighed, the glowing chisel heavy in his hand. "I see things when I carve," he admitted. "A showroom, a workshop, my work out there. But the obstacles, money, time, me, they're too big." Caleb's smile was gentle. "Obstacles are just wood, Daniel. Carve through them. The chisel's showing you success. Trust it." He left, and Daniel sat by the pieces, their glow pulsing. He meditated, the rain's rhythm deep, and the visions returned. The showroom, the workshop, the world. He began sketching plans, a showroom layout, a class schedule, his hand trembling, but sure. At Sarah's urging, Daniel shared his vision at a town meeting, the community hall packed, the air warm with anticipation for the fall fair. He stood, his voice shaky, and described the showroom and workshop, a place for Elkwoods, crafts and kids' creativity. He braced for doubt, but the room cheered. "We'll help," said Sarah. "Let's build it," said Ellie, waving a sketch of the showroom's sign. Daniel's doubts didn't vanish, but they felt lighter, shared by a town ready to dream with him. By early autumn, Daniel's glowing furniture filled the workshop, their light a beacon in Elkwood's twilight. The pieces, tables, chairs, chests, cradles, numbered in the dozens, each radiant, their grain shimmering like the mountains under stars. The town buzzed with excitement. The fall fair passed, the Eid-eye peaks ablaze with red and gold. Daniel's visions had solidified into plans, a showroom in Charleston, its brick facade showcasing Appalachian crafts. A workshop in Elkwood, where kids built furniture, their tools ringing. He'd sent pieces to a Charleston gallery, his heart pounding, and dreamed of Richmond, New York, the world. But doubt still whispered, what if it fails? What if I can't? Push through? Daniel worked tirelessly, carving new pieces with the glowing chisel, its warmth endless. He finished batches with varnish, each glowing brighter, their details vivid. Townsfolk rallied, offering a vacant lot near the square for the workshop. Donated by Mr. Hensley's family, Sarah organized fundraising, craft sales, a barn dance, while Ellie designed posters, her sketches vibrant. Daniel meditated nightly, the rain's rhythm his guide, and saw the showroom thriving. His furniture on display, quilts on walls, kids' projects showcased. The visions felt like destiny, but doubt lingered, a shadow he carved like wood. Construction began in October. The lot transformed with timber and stone. Daniel oversaw it, his apron swapped for a clipboard, his doubts flaring as costs rose. A Charleston gallery rejected his pieces, citing limited appeal, and Daniel's heart sank. I knew it, he told Sarah, his voice raw. Sarah handed him a glowing chair, its glow steady. One no isn't the end, she said. Keep carving. Caleb appeared that night, his eyes bright. Doubt is an obstacle, Daniel, he said. Push through it. Daniel meditated, the rain's song deep, and saw the showroom packed, his work admired. He sent pieces to Richmond, his resolve renewed. Ellie's subplot bloomed. She won a design scholarship, inspired by Daniel's courage, and vowed to study woodworking. Sarah launched a post office craft corner, her dream paralleling Daniel's. Mr. Hensley shared stories, linking Daniel's work to Elkwood's miners, urging him to see his place in history. The workshop rose, its walls up, windows gleaming, and the showroom took shape in Charleston, its brick laid. Daniel taught a trial class, Ellie and local kids carving boxes, their laughter filling the shed. This is it, Ellie said, holding a box. Daniel smiled, his doubts easing, the chisel's promise real. Setbacks came. A storm delayed construction. A tool broke. But the community persevered. Sarah's barn dance raised funds. Ellie's posters drew volunteers. And Mr. Hensley's Historical Society donated artifacts for the showroom. Daniel's Richmond submission was accepted. His pieces set for a spring show, and Charleston reconsidered, inviting him for a meeting. The workshop and showroom opened in November, a vibrant event with Elkwood's artisans, basket weavers, quilters, carvers, displaying work beside Daniel's glowing furniture. Townsfolk packed the square, banjos playing, kids sanding wood. Daniel spoke, his voice steady, thanking the town. His humility, it's just wood, met with cheers. Caleb's final visit came at dusk. "You've carved success," he said, handing Daniel a new glowing chisel. "Keep pushing." Years later, Daniel's showroom was Elkwood's heart, drawing visitors from Charleston, Richmond, even New York. His furniture graced homes. His workshop taught generations, Ellie among them, now a carpenter. Elkwood grew, its mountain spirit intact. The showroom, its soul. Daniel, his hair white but his spirit vibrant, mentored young artisans, sharing Caleb's words. Success is not the absence of obstacles, but the courage to push through them. O added, "Carve your doubts, and they'll build your dreams." On rainy nights, he'd sit in the workshop, the glowing chisel warm, meditating on the future. He smiled, knowing his furniture, his dreams, would endure, shaping Elkwood's tomorrow. The lesson of the carpenter's chisel is that success is not the absence of obstacles, but the courage to push through them. Doubt and challenges are sparks to be carved with determination, building a limitless future. Trust in your resilience. Face barriers with action, and let your dreams shape a tomorrow that endures.
Bye.